Throughout history, in tyrannical countries, you had a choice to make. You could lose your conscience, or you could lose your life. You could go to the left and lose your conscience, or you go to the right and lose your life. Those are your choices. Pick one. And there are some people in this country who only ever follow their conscience, like the person inside CNN who's working with me. They only follow their conscience. There are people we're working with right now, I'm not going to tell you who they are or where they are. Use your imagination. All they have is their conscience. And they're not in it for notoriety or fame in this world of illusion and quasi-illusion, and Instagram clicks and Insta stories and e-girls. It all fades away. And what remains is a sense of permanence. And there is a new breed of these heroes. There are these people, and you may have seen them or heard about them. Eric Cochran, the Pinterest guy that worked with us, Zach Voorhees, the Google guy. These people are anonymous. They don't do it because they want to be famous. A celebrity is a big name, but a hero is a big man whose deeds, whose actions actually make him notorious. They're not known because they're notorious, they're known because of what they do. The honest cop, the honest nurse, the teacher. We've gotten 250,000 messages in the last month from people like these. And they all say, what can I do? I just want to do something, James. That's what everyone says. I just want to do something. They don't know what to do. Our government's completely broken. It doesn't really matter who wins. I said it matters who wins, but we're in a state of sclerosis in this country. You can't pass any legislation. Even if you did, there's almost like a civil war brewing. Maybe an electronic civil war. Maybe it'll lead to civil unrest. We don't even agree on basic facts. 2 + 2 = 4, 2 + 2 = 5. So along comes this guy, Richard Hopkins, postal worker in Pennsylvania. He never intended to go public. But the postal worker in Pennsylvania tells us, via an encrypted chat, he saw his supervisor backdate a ballot. He heard his boss at the post office postmark a ballot, which is totally illegal.
I called early on for a signature audit. Obviously, the Secretary of State, per the laws and the Constitution, would have to order that. He has not done that. I think it should be done. I think, especially with what we saw today, it raises more questions. There needs to be transparency on that. I would again call for that, and I think in the next 24 hours, hopefully we'll see a lot more from the hearings that the legislature had today, and we'll be able to look and see what the next steps are. But left.
If I reach something where there's a fundamental disagreement we have based on a moral principle, I'll develop some disease and say I have to resign.
Is he part of the deep state?
Former Lieutenant General Thomas McInerney has come out on the record alleging that treason against the nation is taking place surrounding the presidential election. He says the attempt to steal the election from President Trump is the largest cyber warfare activity in the world. McInerney says there are 2 groups involved, both the foreign states of China, Russia, and Iran, as well as U.S. citizens.
This is 6 to 10 states bonding together to manipulate their data to take control of the U.S. government and the chief executive officer, the commander-in-chief. So this is not anything to be taken lightly. It's not dirty politics or tricks. It is treason by the very nature against the United States government and the people of America.
A cybersecurity expert signed an affidavit saying TV news stations reported the counting stopped in 5 swing states the morning after the election. He calls this highly unusual and says it may indicate prior coordination, but says they did not stop counting and did so behind closed doors, demonstrating collusion to get the results they wanted in secret. General McInerney outlines a 5-fold plan for tackling what he calls a national emergency.
Initiate the Insurrection Act, declare martial law, suspend habeas corpus and set up military tribunals. Those are the things that must be done in this emergency. It is a national emergency of whether we're going to continue forward as a democratic republic or go into a totalitarian society.
30 minutes.
30 minutes.
Uh-huh.
That's all you give me.
I'm going to give you but 5. I come to work, y'all, and they talk about me. Oh, they talk about me. I don't care. Because I told them I didn't want to work. Oh, Dion, thank you. Thank you, love. When I didn't want to work, I took off for 10 days. Now I'm back at work. Give me some work. Because I come to work. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Oh, you going to give me... Oh, you just gave me one. God bless you real good. Thank you.
I want to give you 2. I ain't trying to overwork you.
Overwork? Ain't no such thing. I'm going to be here till 7 o'clock. Okay. Y'all see all this I got to do? I got to do all this. Enter all these absentee ballots.
Don't mind Miss Ruby.
Whatever.
Property rights are eroding. You're not imagining it. Authorities say people describe themselves as sovereign citizens are trying to forcibly evict homeowners from their own homes in the suburbs north of Seattle. A bizarre story. Jason Rance, a radio host in that city, has been on top of it and joins us tonight to explain. Jason, what is this?
Well, it's a group called the Moorish Sovereign Citizens out in Edmonds, about 20 minutes north of Seattle. It's a group of people who are essentially extremist squatters who believe that the laws of the land do not apply to them, and they've decided to go into neighborhoods, waterfront properties, very nice homes, saying that they actually own the land and they should take it over. The homeowner usually is like, "What are you talking about? Please leave." And it's just very bizarre. It's not just happening in the Puget Sound, it's happening all across the country. Most recently in Georgia, for example, a man named Joel Fed decided to literally take ownership, decide he is not going to pay rent on property that he doesn't actually own. It's part of, I think, this nationwide trend of laws not really applying to certain folks. In this case, they're not activists, they're just kind of nutty.
This is illegal. Once you see that, that means, hey, you want it, it's yours. I want it, it's mine. I'm about to start, the process on reclaiming the land. Hey, y'all can keep paying rent. Y'all can think this a game. Y'all can think we just capping. But real talk, we're taking the land back.
It doesn't quite work that way, I can assure you.
Not Harare, not Bulawayo, suburban Seattle. All right.
No.
Jason Rance, I hope you'll keep on top of this for us.
I will.
Warns the mainstream media may become more powerful than the government if they team up with Facebook and Google. James O'Keefe shared more last night on Hannity.
In George Orwell's 1984, he talks about the last man, Winston. We need an army of these people reporting on our media because the CNN and places like CNN may have more power than all 3 branches of government if they're working with Google and Facebook to propagandize the masses.
Earlier this week, Project Veritas released audio recordings from CNN meetings. O'Keefe says it plans to release more today. The founder of Project Veritas
General McInerney's plan starts with the president declaring a national emergency as per Trump's 2018 executive order on foreign interference with the election. Then he suggests implementing the Insurrection Act to quell potential riots by Antifa and BLM, who he says will want to create chaos if Trump wins. Then declare martial law, suspend habeas corpus, and set up military tribunals to arrest and try those who participated in the steal, people he's identified but can't disclose. He says the problem must be solved now or never.
And if we don't solve it now, it'll never be solved because we will move into a tyrannical situation that will eventually be, whether you can call it social democrats or communists, It's going to be both the same. It's just a different name.
What's more, General McInerney said the vote-switching applications Hammer and Scorecard were in use in this election, as well as in 2016. He says Dominion Voting Systems' central server farm was moved to Frankfurt, Germany, where rogue elements of the CIA had it. U.S. Special Forces then seized it, and he says the White House has confirmed the U.S. has possession of them. He says he does not know whether or not there were casualties during the seizure.
Is he part of the deep?
Down, which is the easiest answer, is necessarily the only answer.
Rick, I just as a public health and public service announcement for the audience, the difference between a big box retailer.
Who is this?
Hold on. The difference between it's Andrew.
Who else?
The difference between a big box retailer. Hold on. The difference between a big box retailer and a restaurant, or frankly even a church, are so different, it's unbelievable. Going into a big box retailer,
I disagree.
You're wearing
You can
a mask.
have your thoughts and I can have mine.
You're required to wear a mask.
I disagree.
It's science. I'm sorry. It's science. If you're
It's
wearing a
not
mask,
science.
it's a different story.
500 people at a Lowe's aren't any safer than 150 people in a restaurant that holds 600. I don't believe it. Sorry. Don't believe it. And I live in an area where there's a lot of restaurants that have fought back and they don't have any problems. And they're open.
Okay. You don't have to believe it. But let me just say this. You're doing a disservice to the viewer because the viewers need to understand it.
You are doing a disservice to the viewer. You are. You are.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I would like to keep our viewers as healthy as humanly possible. The idea of packing people into restaurants.
I think our viewers are smart enough to make part of those decisions on their own.
Completely different
I don't
things.
think that I'm much smarter than all the viewers like some people do.
This is actually having one animal learn something and seeing and recording that activity and put it into the sensory cortex of the second animal, and that animal acquires the knowledge. From the human drone technology standpoint, you can attach the human brain to another human brain, you can direct motor activity, or you can send communication and information. Dr. Ventnor's work is, my view, the equivalent of the development of nuclear weapons when you realize that he created life in a cell. He programmed yeast cells to produce anything he wanted. These can be inserted into you through the hypospray needles. You put in a specific gene slicing, you program what you like, you put it in the cell, and it can reproduce and make as much as you like. It sends a signal and tells which portion of the DNA should unwrap, unfold, and produce a product. Related to this is an idea called dreads. These are designer receptors that can be remotely controlled. You can create a cell, you can put it somewhere in the body, and you can remotely activate it. So you have the capacity to create any product. As long as you know the DNA sequence, you can insert it into a living system, and you can remotely control it. That may affect the way you think, the way you act. So once you know that the technology is there to edit, splice, and program a cell, and the technology currently exists to administer it to somebody and have it go park anywhere you program it to go park, proliferate, and do its function, you can have things activated in other people's brains. These people have figured out how to hide imagery in the DNA of bacteria. You can have the information reproduced in a string form as a form of a protein. The new way to hide information is going to be in DNA. This is the first experiment showing what imagery you can hide in bacteria. This is the latest. It's a GIF file. Well, this is what the Chinese are doing with DNA, merging DNA systems with quantum computing will be really quite an amazing and both lethal threat. The next thing I wanted to mention to you is memory. Can we erase memory? Can we modify memory? Can we change memory? The short answer is yes.
Hello everyone, I'm just taking some time out of my weekend to drop by and address some of the concerns of some of the annoying queue orders that are currently going bonkers on Twitter, calling me a LARP. That way you can better decide for yourselves whether this is legit or not. Apparently this couldn't wait until Monday, so thanks a lot guys. Let me start off by saying that I do not want to be doing this. My family doesn't want me to be doing this. The only reason I'm making these videos is because I was ordered to by Q+ and the DIA. That's it. Let me also say that I do appreciate the good intentions and zeal of the Q Horde, even if they happen to be acting like a bunch of little dummies right now. So quick couple questions to all those squawking silly gooses out there on Twitter. If I was a LARP, would I be able to make death threats against foreign leaders without getting censored? And if that one doesn't work for you, how about this one? If I was just a LARP, would I be able to show you pictures of the core switches at Luke Air Force Base? Or would I get in huge trouble for that? Also, what is a guy who supposedly sells POS systems for a living even doing at Luke Air Force Base in the first place? Think it over and I'll see you little silly gooses on Monday.